When misfortune befalls people, whether it's a tragedy, whether it's a form of anxiety, whether it's injury, people think, well, where is God in all this? How can God bring any good out of this suffering? Well, I think we can look to another example of a 30-year-old after going to war, gets his leg blasted by a cannonball and is laid out. And one may think, well, how can any good come out of that? Well, that was the experience of St. Ignatius of Loyola. So he had been in battle, his leg was broken, and even to the point where it was improperly set, so it had to be broken again. And so he had lots of time to think about his life. And he loved reading, so he loved reading fiction, but he was looked after by some religious sisters, and so therefore they had books on the life of Christ and also those of the saints. And he found when he was reading the lives of the saints, such as Francis or Dominic, he was truly inspired. And even when the thoughts left him, he was still filled with joy. Now he contrasted that with reading some of the fiction novels that he liked reading, and he would read them, and initially gave him joy, but then that joy kind of ceased. So for Ignatius of Loyola, he had this encounter of the Lord, and to be able to discern what was truly of God and what was truly not of God. And Ignatius of Loyola, as a result of his experience having his leg broken as a result of being at war, was one of the great figures of what was termed the counter-reformation. That as a result of Martin Luther and then subsequently all of Europe breaking from the Roman Catholic Church, there had to be saints who came to bring renewal. And I think you always appreciate that the Lord works through people who are simple, who are humble, who allow themselves to contemplate the face of the Lord. And these are the ones who bring renewal. So it's Ignatius of Loyola, Robert Bellarmine, Teresa of Avila, St. John of the Cross. And all these individuals truly brought renewal as a result of saying yes to the Lord in the midst of all their afflictions. All of them suffered. But those became opportunities in which they encountered, through their weakness, the power of God. And as a result, that Ignatius of Loyola's legacy continues to this day, to the point now we have a Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, who follows in the legacy of Ignatius of Loyola. Now what about us? And I think the church is in need of renewal. Our whole society is in need of renewal. And the renewal only comes from an encounter with the Lord. And sometimes we have to be knocked off our horses, as the famous image of St. Paul and Caravaggio's image. Or when we encounter some kind of weakness, when we encounter our need for the Lord. And that's when the Lord can truly shine, in the midst of our weakness. And the Lord ultimately is a God of surprises. Just as he was surprised to be able to use Ignatius of Loyola, this warrior, to become truly a warrior for Christ. I think we can look upon our own lives as truly looking at how the Lord works in our lives. The Lord works through our lives almost surprisingly by his grace, in which we think that God cannot possibly work, and yet he does do that in remarkable ways. Let's look to the example of Ignatius of Loyola, that in the midst of his affliction, he became an instrument of renewal. And let's look upon our own weakness and our own frailty, and allow the Lord's kingdom to come in the midst of our weakness, as he speaks to St. Paul in the second letter to the Corinthians, "My power is made perfect in weakness." Surprisingly so. And so let's remain weak so the power of God and the mysteries and joy of his kingdom may truly come through our work and bring this life of Christ to people in our world today.